Last time, we saw the encounter with Frieza, resulting in the death of Raditz and Nappa, but also the awakening of a Super Saiyan, Vegeta. But Vegeta thinks there might be a way to bring them back. Will he be successful? We'll be discussing all that and more in part 4 of What If Kakarot Was in Vegeta's Crew. While the two Saiyans do want to pursue the Wish Orbs, they obviously have no idea of where to even go for them, and that's if they exist. It's just rumors. They don't even know the true name of them because they're calling them Wish Orbs and not Dragon Balls. But Vegeta does have a few theories. So he thinks that if they're related to magic somehow, maybe a magical species would have them, and the only one that comes to mind naturally would be the Namekians. So, for all they know, if they exist, they would be on Namek, so they might as well go and search for them there. Vegeta and Kakarot set out for Namek. This is still a long shot, but at least worth a try. Of course, the second they arrive on the planet, Namek is on alert. Usually they're not the fighting type anyways, but they see that they're dressed like the Frieza Force, and they can tell that these two are Saiyans. Usually that's a bad sign. But Vegeta talks to some of the locals and tells them why they're here. It's pretty simple. They're looking for Wish Orbs. They just want to revive two of their allies, and that's it. They have no desire to fight here. Although if they do need to fight, they would win. But obviously the Namekians aren't going to give up the Dragon Balls that easily. Even if they say that's the wish they want to make, first of all, they can't really verify it, and second of all, it's not like they would give the Dragon Balls to Saiyans, especially if they're working under Frieza. Well, not anymore. Vegeta mentions that Frieza's been dealt with by them. But still, the Saiyans aren't necessarily good people. It would be kinda naive to just hand over Dragon Balls to some Saiyans. But of course, the Namekians don't even mention the Dragon Balls. They pretend that they don't exist. Now, Vegeta probably would realize that they're lying, but they could be telling the truth. Surprisingly enough, Vegeta decides to leave. And Kakarot wonders why. The Namekians are probably just lying to them. They could just take the Dragon Balls. But that's not going to work. First of all, they don't want to just needlessly slaughter everyone here. Sure, maybe the old Saiyans would like to, but now it's kind of worthless. Especially because if they did that, first of all, they could accidentally destroy the Dragon Balls in the process. Which is exactly right, because if they kill the wrong Namekian, it could mean they go dormant. Plus, if the Namekians aren't willing to help, they're not going to be able to use the Wish Orbs. If the Wish Orbs are real, Vegeta and Kakarot don't know how they work. Vegeta would assume there's some sort of ritual involved. And there's two big issues with that. One, they'd have to find that out from the Namekians first, and the Namekians obviously wouldn't tell them. Even if they got the Dragon Balls by force, first of all, they'd have to kill the Namekians in the process, which would mean that no one would be able to give them the info. And if they left the Namekians alive, they wouldn't tell the Saiyans regardless. Plus, on top of that, Vegeta did briefly hear them speaking a different language. They were speaking Namekian. Not only do they not know the ritual, they don't know the language. And if there's some sort of incantation attached to it, Vegeta realized that they'd probably be screwed because they don't know how to speak Namekian. They'd have to have one of the Namekians willingly working with them, which obviously is not going to happen regardless. But they'll come back eventually, and this is the best way to do it. Maybe they could try again in the future, and try to convince the Namekians some other way. But for now, Vegeta thinks it's best not to waste their time here. They could look on other planets. They have no confirmation of the Wish Orbs existing, and they have no clue of how they work if they do exist. But based on that reaction from the Namekians, they probably do exist. They'd have to find some way to convince the Namekians, though. Taking them by force is not going to work. So, they leave Namek, wondering what their next move is still. Well, in the meantime, they can at least train. Vegeta still has to get a better control on Super Saiyan. Of course, he can use it at will, but it's not really too efficient right now. Plus, it takes a lot of effort to tap into at the moment. He only barely was able to use it against Frieza, so he's going to have to work more on it. And as for Kakarot, he can't tap into False Super Saiyan at will. But Vegeta thinks there's two outcomes here. One, False Super Saiyan is actually a form that's exclusive to a low-class Saiyan like Kakarot. Or two, it's an omen of sorts, an omen for the true Super Saiyan form like Vegeta's. Although he's not sure if a low-class Saiyan could unlock that, but he'd at least like to work with Kakarot towards that. Besides, it's better to have a training partner that's around his level. And imagine if the two of them had Super Saiyan, they'd be utterly unstoppable. Of course, their biggest threat right now is King Cold. Now, they don't know the true extent of his power because they've rarely seen him in action, if at all. But they assume his power has to be somewhat around Frieza's. Maybe he has other forms beyond that too. Which would be a pretty big issue if that's the case. Thankfully for them, that's not actually the case here, but his power actually is around where Frieza's is. But they're going to prepare for the worst. Even against Frieza they thought they might be prepared, but he still attacked early and they didn't really want to fight just then. And that was a huge challenge, they barely won there. So, with King Cold, they can't be too safe. And it seems like for now, they're not going to be able to revive Nappa and Raditz unfortunately. But if they get the Dragon Balls, that's all they want to do. They just want to revive the other two Saiyans. Bringing the other Saiyans back is pretty much a lost cause for them, especially without a planet for them to go on. Plus, the Dragon Balls wouldn't even be able to do that, because it's a large group of people that's been dead for many years. Most Dragon Ball sets won't be able to do that at all, but at least with Raditz and Nappa, the Dragon Balls should be able to revive them. Well, presumably. But in terms of the other Saiyans, there's not really a point to bring them back now. It's already been so long. They've been dead for nearly 2 decades, and there's no point to drag them back to life. And he doesn't even realize that it's impossible to do. But no point mulling on that right now. Frieza's defeat sends echoes throughout the entire universe. With the Emperor defeated, a lot of other people are going to be hearing about those rumors. One other group of space criminals actually does hear about this. The Heaters. They realize that without Frieza around, there's a power vacuum. They could take control of that, and it'll be great. This is exactly what they wanted. But there still is one issue. King Cold's around. Now, obviously, Frieza is still alive, but nobody knows that. As for King Cold, though, obviously there's no reason to think that he's dead, and he still is around and active. Just dormant for now, for some reason, and no one really knows why. But the Heaters realize that he's going to be an issue. Plus, whoever was the one to defeat Frieza in the first place, that could also be an issue as well, because clearly someone was working against him. Although, everyone hates Frieza. But if there's someone specifically fighting against him, that could be a big threat. Although, thankfully, the Heaters have some great resources for info. Mainly in the Frieza Force, because some of them are still around, which is the whole reason King Cold still has the resources to bring Frieza back in the first place. However, the fact that Frieza's alive is kept pretty much under wraps. Nobody knows because King Cold can't let this info leak. However, one rumor that spreads around pretty much uninhibited is the rumor regarding who defeated Frieza. The Heaters hear that apparently Frieza was defeated by Saiyans of all people. Well, they guess that makes sense. And Alec wants to find these two Saiyans, and they might have the perfect person for that. One of their underlings, Granola, comes to them one day, doing one of his normal jobs, and the Heaters just casually mention Frieza's death. Of course, Granola knows about this, and he's pretty happy about it too. But then he hears something even more interesting. The Heaters subtly mention the Saiyans to each other, and Granola obviously picks up on this, just as they wanted. They explain to him that it's unconfirmed as of now, but apparently some Saiyans are responsible for defeating him. And just to rile him up even more, they say the Saiyans are aiming to take over the Frieza Force as is. They'll probably defeat King Cold next and then take the Force for themselves. This is huge news to Granola. He didn't even consider the fact that King Cold's still alive, but more importantly, the fact that Saiyans were the ones to defeat Frieza. There's Saiyans out there still, and they're that strong? Not to mention, they're going to take over the Frieza Force. They'll just replace Frieza. Frieza might be dead, but it doesn't matter if there's going to be Saiyans in his place. That's actually worse in Granola's eyes. He barely contains his rage, but he thanks them for the info, as he returns to Planet Cereal, and Alec's pretty content. This is exactly how they wanted it to go, and he could tell that Granola's going to try and do something rash and probably find the Saiyans for himself to try and defeat them. Now, they could go search for the Saiyans themselves, although at the moment they're not too sure if they could defeat the Saiyans. And on top of that, having Granola absent is great. This will remove that thorn from their side, and they could observe Granola. They remember that encounter with that one Saiyan a while ago. There was a Namekian on that planet, and he's probably still there with the Wish Orbs if they do exist. Granola will lead them right to the Wish Orbs, then he'll leave Planet Cereal, and they can get the Wish Orbs for themselves. Although, one thing does stick in their mind, specifically for Gas, remembering that Saiyan that he fought a while ago. Not too long before the destruction of Planet Vegeta, Bardock was on Planet Cereal and fought the Heaters like normal. Even though we're using Z Bardock's design here, we could still fit in the events with Super Bardock. So, all of that still happens. Gas doubts this is true, but somewhere deep in his mind he wonders if this is related to that Saiyan at all. If there's a Saiyan out there that's that strong enough to defeat Frieza. What if it is related? Probably not, but the possibility is there. Once Granola gets back to Cereal, he immediately goes for the Dragon Balls and wishes for more power. Right now in Universe 7, there's not anyone that's crazy strong. At least in terms of mortals. We'll cover Earth later, but there's no one really strong there. Frieza's dead and the strongest people left are King Cold and Vegeta. Although, unbeknownst to everyone else, there is one more Saiyan out there that nobody knows of, who has a great amount of potential, but hasn't fully harnessed his power. So really, it's just those three that set the ceiling for the power in this universe right now. So when Granola makes this wish, he becomes the strongest in the universe, but at this point of the story, this places him well beyond the Super Saiyan, and even where Frieza was at his full power. And since he's only facing other mortals, Taranbo doesn't even need to take anything off his life. The only reason Taranbo had that condition is because who he was trying to surpass. In the actual Granola arc, Taranbo says he's able to make Granola stronger but not beyond his latent potential. His latent potential would probably be enough to become strong here without losing any of his life. Essentially, he's getting his potential unlocked kinda like Piccolo did, giving Granola his own ultimate form unknowingly. And with the wish being different, we'll introduce another change here. Since he's unlocking Granola's potential as is instead of compressing his entire life for that, this awakens something strange within Granola. His ultimate form is his double red-eyed form. Other than that, he has no sort of physical changes. This should be more than enough to defeat the Saiyans, so Granola sets out on his hunt for the Saiyans. It's a little bit tough, but he's able to get some leads. He might even be able to ask Taranbo again because it doesn't seem like his recharge period is too long in the manga. So he just waits a little bit, and once Taranbo's back, he could just ask for the info. Although he does have to search for the Dragon Balls again, which does take a little bit of time. Monaido's concerned, but he could tell he can't stop Granola now. With the amount of time Granola needs to actually find the Dragon Balls here, let's say a few months have passed, especially since he needed to do that twice. He goes to hunt down the Saiyans, eventually finding a planet that they're on. There's just two of them, Kakarot and Vegeta. He asks for all the info on the Saiyans that he can get, so not only did Taranbo give him the location of their temporary base, but he knows all of their powers, and he knows which one's the strongest. Vegeta is. He's apparently a Super Saiyan, some sort of fabled legend. Not that he's concerned though. With his current power, he'll be able to defeat them pretty easily. Kakarot and Vegeta are on their base right now. It is temporary, so it's not really a base, but they did find a planet to actually set up on. This is basically where they're living for the time being. The two of them are just sitting around eating, killing time. Two beams of light then dart across the sky. Vegeta's barely able to dodge in time, but one of them hits Kakarot directly. It's a sniper shot. Someone's watching them, and it was aimed at their vital points. Thankfully, Kakarot was able to briefly move, so it didn't just incapacitate him immediately, but he still did take a good amount of damage. And without hesitation, the two of them rush over to wherever that sniper shot came from, just in the general direction at least. More sniper shots come at them and they try their best to dodge it. With Vegeta then powering up into Super Saiyan, flying over as fast as he can, this makes it a lot easier to dodge those attacks. But still, it's not effortless to dodge them, it's just his speed helping out. These shots are so precise too. And, just as important, they're powerful. And they eventually find the culprit, with Granola standing there, ready to face them. They have no clue of who Granola is, but Granola knows who they are. And he points at Vegeta first, the prince. He'll pay for what the Saiyans did to Planet Cereal. Planet Cereal? He feels like he has to know that from somewhere, but can't really put his finger on why. What do the Cerealians have to do with the Saiyans? Vegeta says he's sorry to burst his bubble, but he has no clue of who Granola is. And he was never on any Planet Cereal. It doesn't matter though. Granola knows what their goal is now. Plus, being a commander of the Saiyans is more than enough for him to kill Vegeta. Their relation to Frieza, their relation to the Saiyan army that killed all the Cerealians. It's more than enough justification for Granola. Although amidst his rage, Granola accidentally lets one thing slip. He didn't mean to say this, but he mentions that a dragon gave him unstoppable power, so they won't be able to win here. A dragon gave him that power? Vegeta doesn't question it any further, but this does make him realize something. Granola must have wished for this power. Some sort of dragon granted him it? That sounds a lot like the Namekian wish orbs that he was thinking of. Although he can't really confirm since he barely knows anything about them, but it's something to keep in mind. The two Saiyans prepare for battle, with Kakarot even surprisingly powering up. Granola's other eye turns red, and an aura flares up around him, and as he looks at Kakarot he can see that his vitals are changing, and his power's changing too. Kakarot only just very recently unlocked this, but he's going to definitely be able to use it here, as he turns Super Saiyan. So, there's two Super Saiyans. Kakarot must have unlocked this right after Granola got all that info from Taranbo. No matter though, one Super Saiyan or two, Granola will be able to defeat them here. And as that fight begins, out in space, Frieza finally heals. His damage actually wasn't as severe, and he doesn't even need all those mechanical parts. There's no Mecha Frieza, it's just Frieza. And obviously he wants revenge against the Saiyans, and gives King Cold all the info that he has. They're gonna go find those Saiyans to stop them once and for all. The Heaters are making their move on Planet Cereal. Frieza's making his move on the Saiyans. And all the while, Granola, Vegeta, and Kakarot are completely oblivious to all of this. Caught up in their own fight thanks to misinformation from the Heaters. And with that, we'll leave off here for now. What do you guys think about this part? And what's going to happen next time? Leave any thoughts or ideas in the comments below. I'd love to see what you guys think. As usual, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help out the channel and does show me you want to see more videos like this. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.